Quiet on set.
Roll camera.
Sound speed.
Mark, please. And action.
Take one. Welcome back to Students in Focus. I'm Katie, student producer at the Utah Education Network. Can you believe we're wrapping up our first season of the show today? In this season so far, we've explored the incredible creativity from students across the state of Utah. To kick off our season finale, we're shining the spotlight on another talented student producer from Utah Valley University, Gabi Cuascut. We also feature a filmmaker spotlight with Nic Edwards, who is a first AC as well as a camera operator. Gabi Cuascut is a junior at Utah Valley University who is currently studying film production with a minor in anthropology. She's been a student producer for UVU's FEM program, which stands for Females Empowered by Movie Making Experiences, for 3 years now. Gabi is a passionate storyteller who's committed to amplifying diverse voices and improving representation for women both on screen and behind the camera.
As female filmmakers, we were told from the very beginning there's not space for women in film. Women have been in film since the very beginning. One of the first directors was a woman, the editors were women. Nothing about that should have changed, but unfortunately here we are where we are there's still so many pioneers within the industry. So, and this goes like across the board, not just women, like queer, transgender, anybody that if you don't see a space for yourself, sometimes it takes just the right step in creating that space, not only for you, but the future. I had just finished my first year of college. I was like 19 and I was doing makeup and I had heard about it. It was the second FEM and they were like, we need a makeup artist. And I was like, I can do makeup. So I signed up and that was FEM 2. So it was just word of mouth at that point. There was a Facebook page, I think, but other than that, it was just, you knew somebody that was on it. The FEM project, in my own words, I would describe it as, in the name it says empowering, but I would definitely say it's an empowering film model that allows for female film students to get hands-on training and hands-on set experience. For a lot of students, it's the first set experience that they have, and I think that's a really unique thing that FEM offers. What it means to me is a space that is safe and a space that is cultivated towards female empowerment within the film industry, which is heavily saturated, is that the word? Influenced by men. I started out in theater and I used to do makeup, and then I kind of just moved up the ladder from makeup to props to scripty to producing.
Shooting arrows straight today. Draw a target, round it later. Don't be frightened by your sorrow. Let tomorrow be tomorrow, 'cause you'll never ever know. Show some kindness to yourself. You're the only one who can. Through your pain and deep depression, put your chords into progressions. Don't pretend for anyone. Don't pretend for anyone.
My experience making Stage Kids was vastly different making Don't Lose Your Heart. I was a junior producer on Stage Kids, and the way that work was delegated was a little different for Don't Lose Your Heart. For Stage Kids, it was a lot more paperwork that I did, so I learned how to do SAG paperwork. I did a lot of the release forms. I did the IMDb page, which a lot of these are producer roles, but kind of trickles down the line a little bit. On set, I was very hands-on, and that was the year that we made our Instagram. So that was when I kind of took over. I was like, hey, we have a Facebook, but that's a little outdated. So can we do something else? So we started the Instagram page that year. And then with Don't Lose Your Heart, it was I was a little more hands-off due to personal reasons, but Jenny McKenzie, who's the executive producer of FEM, was gracious and allowed me to participate in any capacity that I had. So I still had a producing role, and on set, I'm very hands-on on set. Like, that's kind of my niche, that's my thing. Like, whatever needs to be done, I'm there to do it, and there to help any department, because I have a lot of experience in lots of different things. I started makeup, but I've just kind of dabbled in everything. My experience working with an all-female crew is, there's nothing like it. Honestly, I could get emotional about it. The type of relationships that you create on set with an all-female crew is like, it's womanhood encapsulated. Just like, it's empowering, it's inspirational, it's it can be emotional, but it's such a safe space to be yourself and to be like, everyone's also so efficient. Like, there's less fighting. There's less moodiness. Like, I think there, obviously as women, we understand what it is when somebody's like, oh, she's a girl, oh, she's PMSing, oh, she's, you know, women are always supposedly the more emotional one, but every set that I've had more females on or been an all-female set, it's always run a lot smoother. That's just based off my personal experience. But yeah, obviously I love femme and I can rave about it. It's just, there's nothing like being on an all-female crew, truly. My favorite role on set, I would say producing, honestly. It's the most, like, I love pre-production and I love like getting to know people. I love knowing people's strengths. I love being able to place people where they are comfortable and where they're gonna shine or where they're gonna stretch. And producing, like, I love the creative aspect. I love storytelling aspect. I love people. I'm getting a minor in anthropology, so it's just like, producing is the part of filmmaking that you kind of have the most creative control, but also just the most control of stuff. Not that I want to be controlling, but producing has just been everything that I've liked about filming. It's that job, just all together in one. Currently, I'm working professionally as a PA, and for the remainder of the summer, I'm going to freelance. So that's a fun thing about this industry, is networking and freelancing, and I've made really great connections. And after this, I'm going back to school in the fall. Part-time, going to be focusing on femme and helping on any project that I can with school-related things. My goals and plans for my future, I want to be able to become a creative consultant and a cultural consultant. So I'm getting a minor in anthropology, and I would love to be on set to help tell diverse stories and stories that don't really get a lot of like spotlight. And just finding those people, finding those stories. If there are certain cultures or groups that are being presented on screen, I would love to be there as like a liaison or just a curator to make sure that these stories are being told accurately. And even if it's narrative, even if it's fictional, like I say that and people are always like, documentary, and I'm like, sure, if that's the path, but also I love narrative and I want to like just help when it comes to, I want to change the way when it comes to representation. There's enough space for all people's stories and all people to be recognized and see themselves on screen. What advice would I give to a student coming into the film industry? Yeah. I would say be yourself always. Be adaptive to situations. Don't change yourself to make yourself fit into a mold or fit into a crew, anything like that. What you have is unique and valuable no matter where you're at. So being able to just bring that, you're always going to be able to offer more as yourself versus somebody else, like trying to be somebody else. I would also say that sacrifice is a huge thing about this industry, and ponder and really explore what sacrifice means to you and what you're willing to sacrifice, because this is an industry that will take anything. So don't give it everything that you have. You need to, like, I don't know, stay creative, like stay true to yourself, because again, as I've been working on these professional, like, I haven't worked professionally a ton, but as I've worked on a handful of professional productions, people will always be like, oh yeah, I wanted to do that, but I got here And it's like, why are you shrugging? Why are you being like that? Like, if you wanted to do that, do that. Like, in the most respectful and understanding way. But yeah, I'm very much a be true to yourself type person. And the cliche thing is to say follow your heart, but I absolutely would say follow your heart. If you don't feel like a project's for you, if you don't feel if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel valued, if you don't feel important, if you don't, even in like the smallest role, I would say move on. There's going to be a place that's going to be more curated for you, special for you, and important for you, where you're going to be valued. So that's my little corner of advice.
Utah's a magical place with a lot of energy.
Within 20 minutes of driving from downtown Salt Lake City, you're in the mountains. It just looks so American to me.
You come to Salt Lake City, you come to Utah, you find a crew who is hungry and they want to stretch themselves every single day to sort of match your vision.
We were able to crew and cast so much locally. I think that brought so much to the project.
It's just easier to sort of make our ideas happen here.
We're looking for student-produced films and videos to feature on TV. Learn more at uen.org/studentsinfocus to have your media considered for an upcoming episode of Students in Focus. I had a great time meeting Gabi. Thanks again for telling us all about film at UVU and the FEM program. For our final piece, we have a filmmaker spotlight with camera department extraordinaire Nic Edwards. He is a first AC and camera operator from Salt Lake City. He's worked on productions such as Yellowstone, Hereditary, and most recently, the series The Chosen. He also has experience in commercial with companies like Porsche, Lamborghini, and PlayStation. Having worked under incredibly skilled cinematographers for over a decade now, he is beginning his transition from camera assistant to becoming a director of photography himself.
One of the favorite things about working in film, I think, would be the variety of working locations. Every day is somewhere different. We might be going to the Salt Flats for a few days. We might be going up to the mountains in Park City, just depending on what the job requires. We're all over Utah, sometimes going out of state. I like the variety. And I really enjoy the community of the people. They're very tight-knit, they're very, very friendly. I'd say 90% of all my friends are people from the film industry that I met while working, and I really enjoy that camaraderie. I started being interested in photography. I did that as well, like in high school, and it was similar, and I really liked photography. So then going into college, doing film, I gravitated towards the camera stuff because I already had an understanding and really enjoyed it and felt that I was decent at it, so I'm like, I'm gonna focus on this. And then when I started learning about lighting and composing images, and I started to notice other DPs, like, everyone loves Roger Deakins, and he was one of the first cinematographers that I saw that I really enjoyed his stuff. But then, now as I've learned more about it, I've, Hoya van Hoytema, and locally, I really enjoy someone that went to Slick. His name's Sean Bagley. He's doing really good stuff. Really enjoyed his work while I was in college. And then as I got into the professional world, there's a guy named Jared Fidel that I really enjoyed his work. So being able to work directly with those DPs, as their assistant, was really nice to be able to sort of see their style and how they shoot. And I went to school at Salt Lake Community College, and I majored in film production and on-set production. So I got involved. I started in high school. I had some film classes that I was taking, and that sparked my interest, but I didn't take it too seriously until I got into college, which then I started dabbling in those classes and finding that it's a legitimate career path. So then I started trying to do my own projects and work on other people's projects in class, and eventually PAing on other sets, and then growing in the camera department to where I am now.
Now, here's a quick rundown of the lighting and camera departments with Nic Edwards.
The cinematographer, or the director of photographer, also called the DP, they are in charge of the camera department and the grip and electric department. One side is the lighting and the look, and the other side is the camera and the settings and such. So the DP is in charge of that. They're in charge of the creative look of a film or a commercial. And then on the camera side, going down, you'll have the operator, which would be right with the DP, getting information. Sometimes if there's multiple cameras, the DP will tell the operators, and then the operators will go to their respective camera teams or their first ACs, and then give information, which then each camera can execute on their own. And then there's the first ACs, which they're usually, a camera first AC is usually considered the head of the camera department. They're sort of the one in charge of that whole department because they usually have more of a technical understanding than the operators do. So they will delegate gear that's needed, delegate crew. They on set will pull focus, and then under them would be the second ACs, which they are in charge of managing the gear. They're in charge of slating and taking notes for each shot. And the first AC and second AC work as a very tight team where they have their instructions, their team, and it's just a two-person camera crew. And then under that, depending on budget, you can have a utility or a loader, which they usually manage the gear on the truck. They'll run batteries out. If it's a bigger show, the utility will be running cables, running batteries, taking away dead batteries, putting them on charge, getting things off the truck. They're sort of like the runner to get whatever is needed. And then there's camera PAs. And then on the other side, on the lighting side, there's the gaffer, which is sort of the right-hand man of the DP for the lighting. They work together in tandem to create the lighting and the look, and after the DP explains what they want to the gaffer then goes to the key grip and the electricians, and they work together to set up diffusions and stands and set up all the lights wherever they need to be. That's a camera, that's a crew. That's a crew.
That was literally
Thanks.
A
cinematographer, to really excel in the position, needs to know a lot about, obviously, lights and angles and whatnot, but it's also being able to manage people. I think that's a big part of it. You have a whole G&E team under you, you have a whole camera crew under you. So being able to manage those people, being able to communicate with them properly, being able to, in pre-production, build a plan that then you can spread to your team and execute properly. I think that's a really important part of being a cinematographer, besides the artistic lighting and style, having your own style and stuff like that. And I think as a camera crew, it's really important to be able to sort of take that direction and understand what could come next. Like the first ACs knowing their DP and knowing sort of what he might be asking for or what they might be trying to achieve. So then you as an assistant can get ahead of that and be ready to change a setting or put in a filter or, whatever the DP might need. Having that forethought to be a step ahead, but ready to step back if you're wrong. I'd say one of my favorite projects to be on were some of the JK Studios projects. They were originally a cast of Studio C, made their own thing. But they were very fun, very laid back, a lot of really fun people involved. So I really enjoyed that for those reasons. but I also really liked being on things like Yellowstone and Wind River and some of like the bigger projects because of the scale and the professionalism that came with it was really exciting to be a part of. I've worked in Utah locally for years, so to me it feels more like a tight-knit community. Everybody knows everybody else. We hang out all the time. We play board games. It's a growing industry in Utah, but it's still at its core a very like tight, family-esque type industry, which I really enjoy. Working on big budget projects is sometimes can be very militaristic. You're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. That sort of mentality. There's a lot more people involved, so you just have to trust the next person above you. Like on Yellowstone, I was a second AC on that. So I had to trust just my first AC fully. Whatever he said to do or whatever was happening, I just followed that because there were so many other moving parts that you're just a small piece in this big machine, it's fun and I really enjoy that. But compared to the smaller projects where it's people might be wearing multiple hats, there's less egos involved, there's more of a family feeling behind it because you're all sort of in this together. And so I really enjoy both for their own reasons. Sometimes you have to have that that authority because there is things that, like I said on Yellowstone, where I'm like, I have to trust my first. If my first gives me okay, we're gonna take all this gear and go up this hill, I'm like, that sounds dumb. But there are reasons for that, like there's information that they know that I don't, and there's information I know that the utility doesn't, so it's just, you have to trust the person above you to make the whole machine work. Well, while I was in college, I focused a lot on making connections with people, with working on a lot of different short films and projects and trying to show that I was very passionate about it. And then from there, I started to make friends that would bring me around their other film friends, or tried to help people to keep me in mind for smaller positions. And one of the first positions that I got on a bigger job was from a contact that I made in school, where she was on a set and she was asked if they knew any camera PAs. And she knew me and knew that I was really pushing to be in camera department, so she recommended me and I came on, and from there I met a first AC named Curtis Burr, who was a very established camera assistant locally, and still is, but a very experienced camera assistant. So from there, met him and really tried to just listen and work, and I didn't know anything at the time, but I just hustled. I would lift everything that I could and stuck by him anytime that I could, tried to learn as much as I could. And then worked on that. A few months went by and then he called me again and I did the same thing and really tried to push, really tried to impress the people that I was working with. And then that just, every once in a while I would get a call until he called me for Wind River, which was one of my first big second AC jobs. And he was like, hey, do you want to come second on this? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. So then I jumped on that. The first AC I worked with on that was, his name was DR. And so then I made another connection with a very experienced first AC. So then I started working with DR a lot. I mean, he liked me, he liked how I worked, so we worked together a lot. Other than the people that I met from there got me onto other jobs, and an operator that I met on a job with DR was who recommended me for Yellowstone. So it's really trying to get on set through connections. Really, you want to impress the people that you meet, but you don't want to come off arrogant. Just want to do your job, do it to the best that you can, and then hope that people like you. Because sometimes it is just luck. Sometimes people are lucky and they get the call at the time, sometimes they don't. So when you get those opportunities, you want to try and like really capitalize on them. In the future, I'm really hoping to do more DP work. Right now it's sort of split. I do more AC work than I do DP work, which is fine, I love that, but I really want to make a push to be more of a cinematographer, do more DP work, sort of put myself out there more as a DP, build a better reel, do more spec commercials, which I'm hoping to do soon. I'm hoping to shoot some car spec commercials here pretty soon, which I think will be really cool. Really stoked about it. Yeah, the best thing to come out of college, in my opinion, is connections, is the people, because like you learn the basics at school, but the basics aren't going to get you jobs, you know, the connections are going to get you jobs. Like knowing the right person at the right time sometimes works out, sometimes doesn't. But if I could give students advice, it would be probably mostly about connections. Like when you're in class, you know, you don't want to be annoying about it, but try and work on as many projects as you can. Try and help out people with projects, even if it might seem like an annoyance to you, that you're like, oh, I could do this other thing. Like, you know, give it that time and that investment to build those connections and learn from them, grow, try and be considered like, you know, an experienced student, try and build those reputations. And probably one of the most important things that you can do to get into the film industry. I'll then carry that over to when you get a professional job. Hustle, stay humble, learn. The best thing you can do is not, like if someone tells you something once, like that's it, you learn it, great, and then you move on. Like you don't want people telling you multiple times or trying to tell you to do something. You want to sort of gain that knowledge of what you need to do before they have to tell you what to do it. Just get to know people and hustle. Yeah, hustle when you get the opportunities. I feel very lucky to be like involved in it the way that I am, because I do feel like a good amount of that was just putting myself out there and then getting lucky, and like certain people liking me and then them pulling me forward and then putting myself somewhere else so then they like me, and so it just is luck, a good portion of it.
Thanks again to Nic. I really enjoyed learning about all the different roles of the camera department. And thank you for joining us for an amazing first season of Students in Focus. We've had so much fun showcasing student work this year and can't wait to bring back even more for season 2 this fall. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next episode. And you can check out past episodes at UEN Video. And hey, did I mention you can submit your project to be featured here on Students in Focus? See you this fall!